Hey guys, we're just going to give it another 2 minutes and we'll get started. Look forward to seeing you shortly.
We'll be starting in just 1 minute. All right, everyone, for the evening we've been waiting for.
Have you ever thought, I don't want to be me. I would literally rather be anybody else. If so, maybe you're just like me. I became an actor to become other people. I moved into an ashram to escape my humanity. I wanted to become perfected, untouchable, pain-free. I wanted to become anyone but me. If you're like I was, then join me on a journey, an adventure of coming back into wholeness by exploring our shadow sides, our stories, our dreams, our memories. We will excavate the truth of our identities. We will reconnect with our innate wisdom, our sense of self-love and compassion, our sacredness. We will find our true selves. So if this journey interests you, a journey of coming into wholeness, Then lace up your boots, grab the hand of a climbing partner, for we have some beautiful landscapes to explore. It's a journey back to you. A journey to your ecstatic self.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, I am Anthony, the very proud husband of Kay Strauss, and we are ecstatic to have you here with us on this momentous occasion, the launch of Kay's very first published book, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. We want tonight to be celebratory as well as interactive, so please utilize the Q&A feature to submit questions, comments, shout outs, and we'll get to them throughout the program, if not at the very end. We are also extremely honored to have Monita Gandhi with us tonight. She is a dear, dear friend, and almost 3 years ago to date, she officiated our wedding. Not only is she an officiate, but she is a talented actress, an acclaimed playwright, an empathetic life and spiritual coach. She is also the CEO and founder of Monita Studios. She will be moderating tonight's discussion with our author, Kay. We will also have a reading from the author, as well as some comments from you who've already read the book. So we're gonna ask you to chat some of your initial comments. Then we're gonna get to our Q&A portion, and we're going to end our evening with a celebratory toast. So I see that many of you have already said you've got your drink in hand. And if you haven't had an opportunity to do so, please grab something celebratory to kick off the evening and the launch of this amazing book. So please stay to the very end. Kay has a gift for all those who are able to stay. So without further ado, I bring you Miss Monita Gandhi.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here tonight, as I'm sure all of you are feeling that, to just celebrate Kay Strauss. A little bit of background about Kay, or some of you may know him as Kaylin. That's how I know him as well. So we might be slipping back and forth between calling him Kay and Kaylin tonight. Kay is a wonderful, magical storyteller. He is a spiritual life coach and a performing artist. I first met Kay in Chicago, where he's originally from, and he wrote, directed, and produced a film called Legend of Amba, which I had the pleasure of being in. He has also been teaching yoga and meditation since 2008. He lived in an ashram for 7 years, and he has acted on stages and participated in media projects across the country. Globally, Kaylin has led workshops on mindfulness, connection, creativity, and empathy. And I think all 4 of those words are things that Kay just so fully embodies. He's a graduate of Northwestern University, magna cum laude, and he currently resides in Washington, D.C., with his wonderful husband, Anthony, whom you just met, their rescue dog, Galileo, and their Siberian kitten, Hermione. So today we are here to celebrate Kay Strauss and the launch of his book, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. Some of you have had the opportunity to already do a pre-read of the book. And here's some of the wonderful words that you've had to say about it already. I'm just going to share a couple of our favorite reviews. He's your Sherpa on the shelf, a partner and a guide on a complicated expedition to climb the mountain of you. He doesn't ask you to do anything he hasn't already done. And by the end of the book, your relationship is more mentor-mentee than author-reader. And one more that I'd love to share. The journey to the ecstatic self was so in tune with human nature. I was beginning to think Kay Strauss knew my life intimately. For those of us who are here who happen to know him personally, which I see so many of you from family, childhood friends, from Chicago, from places Kaylin has worked, when you meet him, he's just one of those people that automatically puts you at ease and automatically is there listening and really just being an open vessel. So please give him a huge virtual round of applause. Kay Strauss, author of Journey to the Ecstatic Self.
Hey guys, thanks for being here tonight. It's lovely to get to celebrate with you all.
So Kay, how do you feel? Today is your book launch. How are you? How does it feel to have your language out there with everyone to share?
Oh, it's thrilling. For those of you who've already read it, thank you so much. I've been getting such beautiful comments and reviews and conversations that have spawned from it. Those of you who have not yet read it, please check it out. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. But this has been a really, really lovely experience for me overall. So thank you for being a part of it in whatever capacity.
And Kay, we have so many questions about this book. How did you've worked on so many different artistic projects. How did you arrive at writing this book?
Cool. Well, for those of you who know a little bit about my story, this actually isn't the first book I wrote, though most of you have never seen that one. About 2.5 years ago, I started writing a fantasy novel called Gandhi. I had just recently kind of left acting, figured that wasn't quite what I wanted to be doing, and I was really looking for an artistic purpose. And I spent a good year writing and rewriting and working that book, and it just never felt like it was quite at the point where I was ready to share it. So I shelved the project, moved on to short stories and essays and things. And then one night back in February, I woke up in the middle of the night at 2:00 in the morning and just had this idea for this book basically downloaded in my head. So I got up, started writing for 3 hours, went back to bed at 5 a.m., and then continued writing for the rest of the week. And by the end of the week, I basically had the first draft of this book put together. And of course, I kept writing and adding to it. And by June, pretty much, I had it mostly finessed. And I went back to my editor I'd worked with on my first book, Kaylee, who is here tonight. Kaylee, so nice to have you here. And we started finessing it into a final manuscript. And then here it was. And part of the reason I decided to self-publish is going through that process with Gandhi and seeing how frustrating and ultimately heartbreaking it can be to like put something that you really love out there to the industry, right? To agents and publishers and have, you're getting thousands of submissions a week without exaggeration. It feels very heart-wrenching. And for me to say, this isn't about it being a bestseller. This isn't about me trying to be, famous. It's about me trying to offer something of value to the world and to people for whom I think it might benefit. And whoever it reaches, let's celebrate that. And whether that ends up being a lovely source of then working with me one-on-one through spiritual life coaching or a resource on its own to make a difference in their life, I'm happy.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. And I'm so happy that you brought up your spiritual life coaching, because as I was reading your book and, just knowing you and knowing the wonderful coaching that you've been doing, I was wondering, what came first? Was it the coaching? Was it the book? How did it all happen?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some advisors of mine for a while now being like, you need to be doing life coaching. Like you need to get there in the dirty, gritty stuff with people. I know some of the people here tonight are from Pinnacle Performance, Go Pinnacle. That's a communication skills training company that I've worked with for several years. And I've really loved the work I've gotten to do with them. But those who work with me at Pinnacle also know I love to go into that deeper stuff at the workroom. And when you're working with corporate clients, that's not really the point or purpose. And so for me to have an opportunity to start digging into the subconscious, digging into dreams, digging into memory, digging into identity, and why are you doing the things that you're doing, has always been playing in my mind. So several of my mentors have been encouraging me to start pursuing that route. And then with this pandemic happening and me being home and having this time to work on this book and invest my time in that, it also allowed me the time to start this life coaching company, Ecstatic Self, which I officially founded in June and have been blessed to get to work with some amazing individuals one-on-one since then and go on 12-week journeys or 4-week journeys with them. And the book and the coaching have really come together. They're so intertwined. It's like if all my clients get a copy of my book, and it informs the work we do. So those things really do get to come together in a really beautiful synergistic way. Like I don't think the coaching work or the book would have happened one without the other. And the purpose of the book for me very much is to say, hey, there's people out there, a lot of people who, despite living in an accepting culture, despite being in a more tolerant time overall regarding identity, whether that be sexuality or gender or your shadow side or whatever makes you tick, there still is a lot of shame. And so wanting to create a resource for men and women and gender fluid people to say, hey, where you are is beautiful, how you are is beautiful, and let's go from there.
I love that. And you talk a little bit about, in your coaching sessions that you have the 12-week journey, the 4-week journey. And I'm just reflecting on the title of the book itself, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. How did you arrive at that title for the book?
Well, I think coming into wholeness is a journey. It's not just like, hey, let's do a workshop together and then we're done. Like I got myself figured out, set for the rest of my life. Pooh. It's a continual evolution. In the book, I describe it as like being an onion. You peel off a layer and you think, oh, this is my truth. Awesome. And then a few weeks later, that next layer starts to crack and you think, oh, this totally opposite thing is now my truth. Okay. And so we never reach a pausing point. One of my favorite metaphors for personal and spiritual and developmental growth is being on a journey. And all of us are on journeys, but we all started at different places and we're all heading different places. And just like hiking trails, sometimes they intersect and we get to walk side by side. But we don't really know when that journey began. Maybe at the beginning of this life, if you believe in previous lives, maybe a previous life. If you believe in future lives, maybe in a future life. And I think it's important to recognize that we don't know what the goal is. And we don't know where somebody else is on their journey, how quote unquote advanced they are. We don't know where they're headed. We just happen to intersect with them for a short period of time. So if we take away this idea of arriving at a perfect, enlightened state and instead say, hey, we're just going to make incremental progress. We're going to be a little happier, a little more open, a little more self-connected, and hopefully have some meaningful stories to share as we journey together for however long our paths interact. But never to think that there is this fixed point we're working towards. And to never to think that the person who may be for a few weeks or a few months or a few years or a few hours, they may be your guide, to think of them as being this perfected, enlightened person. We are just fellow journeyers who maybe have glimpsed some different vantages, marked out some different trails, and maybe can give some advice for the terrain up ahead because we just walked it recently.
That really makes me think about the first chapter of your book. When I first opened it, one thing that I really love is the format of your book. You really share some really deep, personal, authentic information about yourself that is so striking and moving. And while sharing your story, you also provide wonderful tools, whether they're, questions that we can ask ourselves, meditation exercises, so many different things. But as I was working through the book, and I say working through the book because for those of you that have read Kaylin's book, it is your work, you're really doing self-work through the book. I never felt as though you were telling me this is the right way to do something. It really was a journey for myself. And I was wondering, how you arrived to having both the tools and the sharing of your story to create this experience for your audience.
Well, the reason that there's a lot of my story, honestly, is when I began writing the book, I wasn't sure there was going to be a lot of that. But then I came across some other person who identifies as a spiritual mentor, their book, and they included nothing personal. And I was like, this is kind of bullshit. Like, why should I listen to you? You throw these things out there, but what are your credentials? Where's the humanity in it? And why are there so many exercises? When I was in a very intense point in my journey towards self-understanding, which again is ongoing, I came across a workbook that was tremendously helpful for me. And I realized that getting out of the paradigm of just thinking something through and suddenly being asked to draw something, or to rate things on scales, or to daydream in a specific way, or to mind map, was a really nice way for me to get a new perspective. So I knew from the get-go that it needed to be something interactive. And then regarding sharing more personal, more gritty stories, is I really believe that it is our foibles, our uncomfortable bits that make us human and make us relatable to another person. And I'm not an advocate of oversharing. I'm not saying you should share all your dark, icky stuff with everybody you meet. There are right times and right places to share those things. But if you want to take somebody on a journey towards wholeness, if you want them to help them overcome shame, overcome their own internal obstacles, you have to let them know, like, it's okay. We all feel this. It's okay to be discombobulated and to have conflicting motivations. It's okay to do things that are unkind or to think unkind thoughts to yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to not be the person you want to be. It's okay to be in despair. And I feel like so often in the self-help community, there's this idea of achieving wellness or achieving perfection, that if I do my work right, I'll never be sick. I'll never be unhappy. And if I am, it's my fault. And just saying, no, that's part of the journey. That's part of being human. We are always going to feel those things. So if by me sharing some of my darker, more difficult, gritty things helps you overcome your shame, the toxic feelings you have around your own journey, and it gives you a deeper sense of being okay with where you are, and that where you are is beautiful and valid, then so be it. And I don't share all my stories. There are certain stories I do keep back. But the ones that I feel confident and feel like have value to help other people, then I think it's important to put those out there, and then to frame them in a specific context to say, hey, yeah, I maybe did this crazy, or some might call it evil thing, or scandalous thing, but let me give you a little bit of reason around why and how it actually helped me become the man I am.
Were you ever surprised at any of the stories that you chose to share, that they made it into the book, or that you felt willing to share them?
Oh, you should see some of the stories I cut from the book in earlier editions. There was a good whole half of a chapter. I was like, you do not need to hear that. That was a good first draft. Monita, you actually probably know all those stories. So do some of the people on here. Looking at you, Sarah and Matt, you definitely know most of them. Were there any stories that I felt uncomfortable sharing? Yeah, I mean, there are a few. There are a few that I'm very sure people will read them and judge me for whatever perspective. And that could be somebody who maybe has had a little bit more buttoned up life and say, oh my God, he did that. But conversely, someone else who has, really been out there and done a lot of things and had a lot of interactions might read through and say, well, that was rather PG. Who is he to talk about flirting with the edge? That didn't seem too scandalous to me. So yeah, I mean, it may push buttons depending on where you are in your own experiences.
And, I know you have such a wealth of knowledge about so many different practices, so many different kinds of tools. Would you like to share with the audience here today who might not know, where have you gained this wisdom? Where have you acquired these practices? Where does your practice come from?
Well, I'm a big believer that anybody you meet, if you're paying attention, can be your teacher, whether that's for the positive or the negative. I want to be like them, or I don't want to be like them. And I am very blessed to say I have met some amazing teachers in my lifetime. Some have been teachers for an hour. Some have been teachers through a book or a video I watched. Some have been for years and years in person. I remember for like 5 years, I used to meet with the now late Bob Scoggin, the artistic director of Shaw Chicago Theater, and we would meet for 3 hours a week, one-on-one. And technically we were there to work on Shakespeare, but it really was more about life lessons. I lived in an ashram for several years. There were a lot of people who were my teacher there, both for good and for ill. I talk about in the book, the really traumatic experience of leaving that community, being thrown out of that community, which ultimately was such a healing and important moment in my life that I look back on with gratitude. But at that time was so painful. And I look back on these so-called enlightened individuals who acted so callously and so unkindly, and said, somebody who I thought of as learning in a positive way from, taught me through their mistakes as well. So I think that I've been very, very blessed to find people who have always shown me the puzzle piece that I needed at that moment. And while I do say I am blessed in that way, I don't think that that's unique. I think all of us, if we actually stop and pay attention, if we get out of our phones for a minute, if we sit in silence for a moment and listen, we realize that what we need to hear is showing up. Like I remember when I was a little kid, I swear, every time I lost a tooth, there would be like a cartoon or a TV show that would come on that day or the next day that would talk about what it's like to lose a tooth. Like those lessons just appear if you're paying attention. There is a tremendous amount of synchronicity. And so many spiritual traditions and faith traditions say that when you're ready, your teacher appears. If you're listening, the lessons will come to you. If you ask for something, the universe will provide, even if it's not the way you thought it was going to show up or the lesson you were hoping to learn.
I love that, and I love this idea that if we're open to it, anyone can be our teacher at any time. And it's in what we agree with that they're doing. And it's also in, oh, maybe I should do something differently. You also spoke about your time at the ashram and just, maybe spiritual teachers that taught you how you don't want to do things. You know, how has, I guess, that experience influenced, you talk a lot about identity in your book, and I'm thinking about, you talk about your experience at the ashram, you talk a lot about sex, sexuality, gender, and how that influences identity. And I just wanted to leave it open to see if you wanted to speak to any of that. How do these things influence identity? Why did you decide to share that in your book? What were the hopes for that?
Yeah, going back to this idea of identity being something in flux, that as soon as you think you know who you are, if you're living a conscious life, if you're working on evolving, that identity is going to change, it's going to dissolve, it's going to evolve into something else. So if you had met me 10 years ago when I had recently moved into the ashram where I would live for almost 7 years, I was very righteous. I was very much like, you sit every morning in silent meditation for a long period of time, perhaps 3 hours. And then you get up and you scrub the floors and do selfless service. And then you meditate again in the evening. And then you do not need sleep. Sleep is for when you're dead. Meditation replaces sleep. Sleep is for the weak. I was very righteous, and certain things were good and certain things were bad, and you had to do things this way. And I couldn't visit family at a certain time because it would throw off my mojo. And then when I left the community, that started to change. And as I've continued to meet people, like Monita, you and I were traveling in India together, and we met this beautiful, beautiful evolved being, Dr. Krishna. He runs an Ayurvedic institute outside of Mysore. And he's somebody who I view as a spiritual teacher in my life. He has such beneficent energy. And one of the things he said to me is, he's like, you really need to relax. Like, stop trying so hard. And I've very much been embracing that idea, like learning, like, oh, I can meditate while lying in bed. I don't have to sit for a full 30 minutes. I'm not going to explode. That's okay. I can let some of that rigidity go. In a similar way, my identity has shifted over the years regarding orientation. For those of you who've known me for a long time, when I was younger, I was straight. I believed it. I identified as straight and no one could tell me different. And yet if anyone ever accused me of differently, I had this pit in my stomach that would come and go through the course of a day. And I would pray at night that I wouldn't be gay. And then when I started to have that egg of identity start to crack and flake off, I started to think, oh, well, maybe I'm bi. And then that became, well, maybe I'm gay. But I was so confused about it, I had to analytically write myself a letter detailing every sexual thought or experience or imagining I've ever had in my life. And then was like, okay, well, upon reflection, it therefore seems like yada, 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 I must be gay. Like I was so tense and confused about that. And then I identified for gay for many years. And then I was traveling with a certain person in a certain place, perhaps India, perhaps the person I'm talking to right now. And we maybe had a hotel room experience where there was not clothing. And I realized I wasn't quite as gay as I thought. And that experience made me challenge my label again. And then like, oh, maybe I'm mostly gay. Maybe I'm omnisexual, that I connect with different genders in different ways at different times. Like, I don't know. Who I am today is not who I'm going to think I'm going to be next week. And I think the important thing is, as long as we maintain a curiosity and a sense of wonder and a sense of, we will continuously evolve. We will continuously change. And just let's take each moment as it comes, then we'll be okay. It'll be okay. But it's that rigidity that it has to be one way, come hell or high water, that makes life so hard.
Thank you for that, Kaylin. And I know that you've selected a passage from your book that you're going to read, but before we get to that, I just wanted to ask you, if you have a specific hope for anyone who picks up your book, what would that be?
That where you are is okay. That you don't have to be anything other than you are. And for most of my life, I wanted to be something other than me. I wanted to be better than me. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be more attractive, more talented, more beloved, more accepted, more anything. And those aren't bad things. It's not to say don't work towards that. Don't go to the gym. Don't make friends. Don't do what you can do to improve yourself. Yeah, by all means. But it has to be balanced with contentment. There's this term in yoga called santosha. Santosha is loosely translated to mean contentment, but it means active non-action. It means love yourself, accept circumstances where and how they are in whatever ways they're manifesting. At the same time, do your best. Try to evolve, try to grow, balancing what they call shuka and sthira, effort and grace. That we deeply love and accept ourselves as we are, with our foibles, with our faults, with our imperfections, and at the same time, see the perfection, see the radiance, see the joy in being where you are. Because if we take that longer range view of life being an endless journey from time immemorial to some distant point in the future, that if we are just this collection of molecules that are gradually making its way back to a state of oneness, a state of unity, whether you want to call that heaven, enlightenment, nirvana, the oneness, whatever you want to call it, if that is our purpose, and that's the direction we're headed, what does it matter how quickly you get there? You are where you are. The point of the journey you're on is beautiful. And no point is more sacred or more lovely than another. It might be more uncomfortable than another. It might feel more constricted or pain-filled. But if the journey is working towards wholeness, working towards being, then celebrate where you are at the same time you work to grow. So that's my big takeaway for anyone who picks up this book. You are beautiful, you are sacred, you are whole. Love yourself for where you're at, and at the same time, get your shit done. Get to work.
Thank you. And speaking of just work in general, what's the passage that you have selected to read for us today?
Yeah. So I thought I would read the introduction to the book because I think that's really gives you a nice flavor of where things are headed. I have 2 copies here. I've got both the hardcover and the paperback. For whatever reason, Amazon does not have the paperback listed online yet today. Amazon's the only place you can buy the paperback. It should hopefully be there by tomorrow. But you can buy the hardcover at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, pretty much anywhere books are sold. If you go to your local bookstore and want to support them, they can also order the book for you. So this will be the introduction. In the book, we call it Base Camp, because again, the whole book is set out to be like a journey. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best day and night to make you like everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. Quote by E.E. Cummings, poet. Perhaps you're like me. Perhaps you too grew up feeling like your body was an awkward machine that you couldn't fully operate. Your spirit didn't seem to fit within the boundaries of your skin. You felt clunky, uncouth, and perpetually ill at ease. Maybe you too felt disconnected from your peers and the world around you. There were times where you sat on the concrete edges of an asphalt lot and stared in wonder at your classmates. You didn't understand why they enacted the games or swapped the stories that they did. You felt like an alien visitor, capable of comprehending their language, but not able to follow the logic. What seemed to matter most to them meant nothing to you, and vice versa. Perhaps as an adult, you found yourself in crowded rooms, totally alone. Everyone seeming to enjoy themselves except you. Too much noise, too many bodies. You feel self-conscious and claustrophobic, pressed in from all sides. You notice yourself silently judging everyone. That person is too tall, that one too short. She's so beautiful, but he's too slender. That guy has hair plugs. That girl is obnoxiously overdressed. And that fella needs to lock up his tweezers. A mirror unexpectedly flashes your reflection back at you, and you shift the running critique to yourself. Your posture, your complexion, the stupid duck face expression that you're making, how your clothes are insufficiently crisp. You should never have sat down on the subway, you realize. Your waist is too wide, and your chest is too narrow, and you are 2 weeks past needing to get your hair redone. Trying to fix yourself, you lower your lids to make bedroom eyes, clench your jaw and pout your lips even further. If you choose to make eye contact with anyone, it is only for long enough to convey dominance, attraction, dismissal, or amusement. You wander to a corner to cocoon yourself in blessed darkness. And you notice that your collarbones are slick with sweat. Your heart is pounding. You realize that no matter how well you may have sized up everyone in a bid to ease your own anxiety, it is not enough. You still feel uncomfortable and self-conscious. No facade you construct is ever enough to give you the sense of control and invulnerability that you crave. You struggle to find a lasting feeling of belonging or security, here or anywhere. You are chronically aware that there are always others who are fitter, more beautiful, more powerful, or more talented to make you feel diminished. You are emotionally exhausted from this social gathering. Your brain has been working at top speed to process a barrage of chemical triggers. All of your fears and longings keep circling back to one relentless belief that haunts you. I am not enough. I am not as handsome as my favorite actor. I do not have the body of that fitness model I idolize. I am not as smart as Shakespeare or as talented as Mozart. I'm not as wealthy as Bezos, as charismatic as Jackie, or as selfless as Teresa. I am unworthy. I am unlovable. I am inadequate in so many ways. I don't want to be me. Fleeing the crowded room, you seek some sort of salve to assuage the mounting panic and unworthiness inside. You pull up your favorite social media app to post a scandalous photo to see how many hearts you'll garner. You reach into your bag and withdraw a bottle of something medicinal. Maybe you text a friend to have them distract you, or scroll for somebody nearby available to fuck. Perhaps you hit order on that designer handbag you've been eyeing but cannot afford. Retail therapy, you assure yourself. If you're like me, there's a nagging sense in your core that you are deficient. If only you could find the right diet, wardrobe, career, car, partner, one day you would no longer feel this inner lack. You live for a blessed point in the future where you will finally feel worthy, accepted, and beautiful. You long to belong to something. If you're further into your journey, like I am now, you've come to realize that no amount of external validation will give you lasting self-worth. Sure, the applause and the likes can numb your angst for a short while, but the chasm of insecurity grows. You may have thought that gaining 10,000 followers would finally provide fulfillment, but it didn't. You then wondered if 100,000 would, but that goalpost also came and went without providing lasting relief. You pondered if, instead of being a size 2, a 00 would finally allow you permission to accept yourself, but it didn't. I have spent most of my life searching for comfort within my skin. No bottle, no gym membership, no career success has ever given me the ability to truly love myself and find home inside. The more that I tried to be the person that others would desire or applaud, the more disassociated I became, the more I didn't know who I was. Through much trial, error, and internal questioning, as well as a tremendous amount of assistance from generous souls along the way, including many on this Zoom/YouTube live stream tonight. Thank you for being here. I have learned to find footholds in the rock face of ecstatic selfhood. I have been reorienting away from seeking external approval and instead discovered that I am worthy as I am. More than that, I am an indelible, radiant spirit, and so is each person. I have uncovered a vast internal terrain of spiritual knowing and corporeal embodiment that has led me back to myself. The routes toward selfhood that I have trod have been winding and wondrous. At times, they have led me to majestic mountaintop vistas that have left me breathless. At other points, they have carried me to fearful precipices and have demanded that I jump into swirling, lightless abysses. These pathways have guided me into mythical forests, shard chaparrals, and butterfly-filled meadows. I'm going to be honest, the journey to ecstatic selfhood has sometimes been terrifying. My fears have come at me like clawed branches scratching at stormy skies, foggy bogs sucking at my souls, and deep crags out of which I never expected to climb. I've had to abandon cherished dreams in order to ascend toward my destination. I have grieved. I have celebrated. I have danced in wild ecstasy, naked before the full moon and a bonfire of awakenings. If you are like me, a fellow journeyer into the realms of the soul, then I offer you this book. It is a compass to help orient you along the trials and trails that lie ahead. Through the exercises and stories I share in these chapters, we will become spiritual travelers together. I am by no means a perfect guide who has reached his final destination. I am very much still walking the path toward embodied selfhood. I have good days and poor. I still feel the rain and chilling winds. Furthermore, I do not claim to be a master cartographer of the self, like others who have ascended to the pinnacles of academia and research in efforts to explore the frontiers of self-understanding. This book is solely a reflection on my personal journey, which I hope will be of help to others. I offer the vantages I've glimpsed, the forks in the road I've chosen, and the footpaths I've tried to bring me back to myself. I gratefully acknowledge the expertise of those forebearers who plotted the course towards self-understanding that I've trod. I've learned from so many wise women, teachers, guides, and gurus. And through the collation of my studies and experiences, I believe that I have accumulated knowledge that is valuable to share with others. I am not a therapist, a psychological counselor, a shaman, or an enlightened bodhisattva. But I am someone who has been wandering the trenches for many years. I approach this topic with both humanity and humility, sharing the guideposts I've marked to whomever it may be of use. Coming into wholeness isn't a quick jaunt. I began this journey when I was a teenager. Back then, I desperately wanted to be someone other than my true self. I became a professional actor to escape my body and inhabit the minds of characters I preferred. Then, I fled the modern world and moved into a yogic ashram in a bid to outpace my longings and carnal desires. I tried to make myself into someone impenetrable and inhuman. Since then, I've begun to learn the simple joy of being me, to sit alone and genuinely enjoy being with myself. I have discovered the satisfaction of embracing my imperfections, finding beauty in what is not pretty, and peace amongst the ruckus. I have been cultivating a life that I profoundly relish. Over the past several years, I've developed a sense of belonging inside myself and amongst people for whom I care, to give and receive love. My life is far more fulfilling than I ever imagined it could be, but it looks almost nothing like what I dreamt it would be when I was younger. I have had to peel off layers of determined expectations to reveal my essence. I have had to let go of who I thought I needed to be in order to permit the real me to shine through. If this speaks to you, the idea of a journey to know and accept your ecstatic integrated, joyful self, then grab some boots because we've got some winding, curious, glorious paths ahead of us. Strap in. The big question is whether you're going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure. A quote by Joseph Campbell, professor of literature and mythology.
Kaylin, thank you so much. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm getting very emotional. It's one thing to read your words, and it's one thing to hear you read the wonderful words that you wrote. It's just truly, truly beautiful. And, I think at this time, we just wanted to open it up to anybody that is here today that's read the book that would like to share their experience.
Oh, and by the way, Michelle is asking, is there an audiobook? Yes, there is an audiobook. In the process of editing it. So if you like listen to hear me read, you can. It will be available on Audible and iBooks, hopefully in January. It takes them 30 days approximately to approve it. So yes, you can download it. And if you have a subscription to Audible, it's free. If you don't have a subscription to Audible, they have a free 30-day trial. And also too, even if you don't get the audiobook, just, all of the meditations that are in Journey to the Ecstatic Self, and I believe there's 15 of them, you can access on my website, ecstaticself.com. Just click on book, or you can just do ecstaticself.com/meditations, and all the meditations are on there. So you can access that and listen to them rather than having to read them in the book, or just access them even if you don't have the book.
Great. Thank you, Kaylin. So continued gifts just keep coming. Is there anyone that would like to share their experience from either coaching with Kaylin, reading the book, or if you're also having, you can also drop in the chat to everyone, if there's a word that you're feeling right now about the work.
And Mark, yes, I am reading the audiobook, so it is me reading it. Thank you for asking.
I think we have someone raise their hand, Kaylin. Are you able to see that?
Yeah, so let's see. So yeah, if you have read the book and want to share something, I can unmute your microphone. Just raise your hand. If you've read it and just want to also just like drop a word in, a comment, like what you thought when you read it, please feel free. So let's see. Sarah, let's go with you. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right. I'm Sarah. I've known Kay for a really long time, and I was lucky enough to be able to read the book ahead of time. And what I just wanted to say was that it was very exciting. That was a lot of what I felt, even reading the kind of the hard stuff and the hard memories. It was exciting because it was so true, and it was so revealing that once you got to the meditation parts, so you got to the workbook parts after sort of hearing the stories, reading about Kay's life, and it was just exciting to kind of, it made me want to go, yeah, I can do this too. I can be introspective. I can make progress. I can, it was just, even though some stuff was kind of hard, or it was something that was like, whoa, that's something I have to think about. It was just really exciting. So I think there's a great energy that flows through the book like that, where you kind of want to do the work on yourself. And I think that is probably what I took the most away from it, was just the excitement of wanting to work on myself, even though it can be hard sometimes.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'll just also note, Sarah is a dear, dear childhood friend of mine. We've been friends since we were 14 years old. So, and, I know some of the things I've written and published have sometimes made her uncomfortable. So for her to say, that she was able to get stuff out of that's a vote of confidence. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
And I think we have one other person, or maybe two. Can you see that on your end, Kaylin?
Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, this actually, reading this book was awesome. My husband and I actually were going through it together, and it started with both of us just knowing Kay and being like, yeah, of course we'll read his book and support our friend. But what really just shocked me was how much we ended up getting out of it, and being able to go through that journey together, especially in the first part of the book. It's a lot of working on yourself and then bringing in others, like kind of moving out of isolation of working with other group, or like outside of that. And it was just really beautiful for us, even though we were reading it at slightly different paces, to actually get to do some of those work pieces together, and especially like the sensual touch pieces. That was something that, like never in an area where we thought we had any issues or struggles, but it was so beautiful to get to sit down and do those exercises together and just find like a deeper appreciation for one another, especially in a time when you don't really stop and put mindfulness to things like that. So it was just beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing. And I can't wait to get everybody that I know to read it, because it was really lovely.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, there are some more central parts of the book, because I'm a big believer that we have bodies, we have a human experience, we are spirits having a human experience. My yogic tradition is a tantric yogic tradition, right? It's about embracing all of life, not renouncing it. So we should enjoy what we have and use that as a gateway to our higher self. So I'm glad that was meaningful to you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it, Alyssa.
And then Kaylin, we also, I know some people are dropping some questions into the chat. Please feel free to do so. Kaylin, one of the questions that is here is from Mick Kubiak, and they are asking, in the midst of the dynamism of allowing certain aspects of identity to always be evolving, is there anything you perceive as constant and stable? And if so, how would you describe that?
What is the old adage? The only constant in life is change. I also love this isn't verified as being an actual quote, but I think it's interesting, is this old British dude in the late 1800s once said, "There is a great Chinese curse. May you live in an interesting age, a time of great change." And I think about that, right? Like, is there constants? I don't know. One of the things my husband and I talk about, like my husband is my bedrock of my life. Like, there is not an hour in a day that goes by where I don't think of him with gratitude, whether he's right by me or far away. Like, he is my constant. I don't have words to describe what he is to me. But I also recognize that at some point he won't be there, right? Because he's dead, I'm dead. He ran off with a 24-year-old trollop and giggled his way off to, I don't know where, Tulum. Hopefully not Tulum, because that's where we got married. But like, even that, like, also knowing that even the things that seem eternal will have to change. Like this week, some of you may know, my 4-year-old dog Galileo got diagnosed with a serious health issue where the vet said to me, "You might have to get ready to put him down." And we both cried. We're both devastated, and hopefully Galileo will pull through. But my response was, well, I'm not prepared for that emotionally yet, right? He's only 4. I planned on, by the time he was like at least 11, maybe even 7, I'd start preparing for that. But the truth is I don't think there is any constant in the temporal sense. But if we can enter a state of deep time is a term I use a lot in my videos if you watch them on YouTube. Enter this space beyond just the now, just this life. If we can connect with that internal self that is beyond this limited body, we sense that love is eternal, consciousness is eternal, life in its billions of iterations, from a tree to a bug to a human to an extraterrestrial, if you believe in those, is eternal. So I don't think there's anything constant from our limited human perspective, at least not now. But when we can step outside of ourselves and enter that deep time, that deeper self, I think we can sometimes find it there. Does that answer your question, Nick?
Nick, let us know if that answered your question, and thank you for being here, and thank you for asking that. Kaylin, one of the other questions here is, and Mick says yes. Thank you, Mick. We have a question also from Felicia, and Felicia writes, so being somewhat younger than me, what bearing do you think age contributes to self-ecstasy?
Oh, what bearing does age have? Well, that's a really interesting question. I love that one. So in a lot of spiritual traditions, at least speaking to yogic spiritual traditions, they talk about phases of life. That you start off, that you are a student, then you are a householder, and then in your later parts of life, you're supposed to move more into a spiritual state of life where you start to pull away from all the busyness of living and you start to turn within. But of course, when you're older, your body hurts more, things don't come as easy, that, it's not as easy to start developing those skills later. So you could also say when you're younger, if you have the predisposition, you've got the energy to sit longer and to go out and explore the world and go on adventures and dive deep within and make mistakes. So I don't think there really is a benefit to any time in life. Because there are great things and there are disadvantages. And when you're young and your body's healthy and you've got all the time in the world, you're less inclined. There's a lot of things you got to get done. So I think it's available for anybody, anywhere. I once heard somebody say that you should work on yourself, whether that's meditation or self-study or whatever you want to call it, for 1 minute a day for however many years you are old, and start from there. So if you're 30, at least 30 minutes a day, every day you spend in self-inquiry. If you're 90, at least an hour and a half.
That's great. And really, that's not a lot of time, thinking about how we spend our time every day, 30 minutes or 90 minutes, we can let that go by. I know we might not be able to get to all of the rest of the questions because we're kind of getting ready to come to a close. And we want to make sure to get to the toast and hear about your wonderful thank you gift. But I feel like I should definitely ask you this. Dan says, congratulations, and is asking, if Ecstatic Self were to be made into a movie, who would you like to play you?
Am I not allowed to appear in my own biography? I mean, I am an actor. I mean, I would think that would be cute.
Maybe we opened a can of worms.
If it cannot be me, well, then it needs to be somebody of tremendous profundity. And since this is the idea of morphing identity, wouldn't it be cool if maybe it was different actors at different points in life evolving into it? And if it can't be different actors, I recently saw this beautiful art exhibit at the Hirshhorn in DC, and you can actually look it up online. You can watch the whole video online, with Cate Blanchett playing 23 different people, each speaking a different type of artistic manifesto, from the Impressionists to the Dadaists to the Absurdists, and as a character. And she's so completely transformed and played all these different gender characters in such totality. I will say, if I can't have different actors, maybe Cate Blanchett. Let's let her play me, because she is incredibly versatile and wonderful. And yes, let's fuck with gender. Why not?
I love that. And so Tim Casper, who has also volunteered to play you in the movie.
Oh, great. Thanks, Tim.
Might have to share that with Cate Blanchett, and I'm sure Kaylin will figure that out. I'd also at this time just really love to invite Kaylin's wonderful husband, Anthony, back. And if everyone would like to grab their drinks, I believe Anthony will be leading us in a toast. And
thank you so much. Thank you, Monita, for once again being a part of our life and ushering in a new chapter for us. Both Kay and I are so excited that you were here and that everyone was able to join us. Once again, hopefully this is another part of Kay's journey. So if everyone will lift their glass to another page in your book and to many steps in the journey to come. I'm so proud of you and what you've given to me and to everybody else, and look forward to the many more pages that you write. So, cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. It's so wonderful to get to share this with you.
You want to say about your gift?
Yes.
Yeah, so as a thank you gift for tuning in tonight, I've talked a lot about my coaching practice today. And one of the things that is really helpful for me in getting this book out there and getting it out of the muck and mud of the literally like 500 books that get published every day on Amazon or every hour, something like that, is to get reviews and genuine reviews. Ideally verified that it shows that you also bought a copy, but whichever kind. So if you post a review on Amazon and take a picture of it and email it to me, my email address is k@ecstaticself. You can find it on my website. You can find it wherever. Send me a picture of that review. I am happy to offer you half off on my coaching services. So whichever package you would like, whether that's 12 weeks of a journey together, a 4-week introduction to meditation, or just a one-off session. And I also always offer a free consultation for people regardless. So if you post a review, send me a picture of it within like the next 2 weeks, ideally, although I'll honor it through the end of the year, and you want to do coaching with me, I'll offer you half off. So that's my thank you gift for being here and for partaking. And I would love to get to work with you and help, explore a couple steps with you on your journey and be of service in whatever way I can.
It's really incredibly generous, Kaylin. And, as we're getting ready to close, I know it's already the end of the hour. For those of you that can stay on, what we'd love to do is we'd love to close with, I'll do a little bit of a small sound bath and we'll set an intention for the night. And then friends and family that would like to stay on and hang out, we would love to chat with you more informally. So if you would like to, and for those of you that have to go, we just really want to extend our sincere gratitude. This is such a big momentous day, and in this strange time during a pandemic where we can't all be together in a room live, the fact that you took time out of your evening, because we know you've probably been on a lot of Zooms today, to be here to really, really celebrate Kaylin. I know it means so much to him. I'm just seeing all of the people that have tuned in tonight from so many different parts of Kaylin's life. And we're just so grateful because this is what it's about. It's really about all of us being together and celebrating. And thank you for being a part of this journey. For those of you that can stay, if you want to sit in a position that feels comfortable for you, I keep my shoulders over my hips. I like to sit on a little yoga block or a pillow. But this is all about you feeling good. If you want to lie down, you can lie down. It's the end of the day. And then just go ahead and close your eyes. And just start to gently inhale through the nose. Hold for a moment. Exhale out the mouth. Good. And just keep up that cycle of breath. Inhaling through the nose. Holding for a moment. Exhaling out the mouth. And with each breath, just allow yourself to breathe in this present moment, this fresh white light. And with each exhale, just allow yourself to release anything that doesn't serve you, anything you want to let go of in this moment. Just start to let your forehead relax. Let your face relax. See if you can release any pressure from behind your eyes. Maybe your jaw hangs a little bit loose. Find the space in your neck and throat. Still inhaling through the nose, holding for a moment, exhaling out the mouth. On the next inhale, go ahead and take your shoulders, lift them up towards your ears and back. And as you exhale, drop them down and forward. Maybe you do that again, inhaling your shoulders up towards your ears and back. And as you exhale, drop them down and forward. Maybe you just shake them out, but really just allow your neck and your shoulders and all of you to be nice and loose. Relaxing your whole back, letting your wrists just be, letting your hips melt into whatever you're sitting on. Still inhaling through the nose, holding for a moment, exhaling out the mouth. Finding the space between the fronts and backs of your thighs, and all that expansive space between the fronts and backs of your knees. And breathing some air into your calves and shins. And maybe you flex and point your feet. Just let your ankles and the soles of your feet and even your toes relax. Just observe for yourself if there's a word or phrase that comes to your body or mind. And if there is, just observe it and then let it go. ahead and place your right hand over your heart, left hand over the belly. And as you inhale, feel that chest rise, belly fill. As you exhale, feel that belly empty, chest fall. And just start to allow yourself to think of one thing that fills you with a feeling of gratitude or joy. Any one thing at all. It could be a memory, someone in your life, something you're looking forward to. And just allow that feeling to grow with each inhale, like a big warm ball of light. Perhaps it starts to get larger than your body, larger than the space around you, out through the walls and into the world. And then very gently, just place both hands over your heart chakra and just observe for yourself, what does my body need? What do I need right now? And with a small, gentle pulsing of your hands or a small circular massage, go ahead and offer yourself exactly what you need right now. Just be open to receiving it and really feel what it feels like to have everything you need in this moment. And from here, just observe if there is a desire or a want or something that's coming up for you. And if you would like to set an intention for yourself today or in the next few days, it could be, I will be kind to myself. I will be more gentle with myself. I will be more forgiving. Maybe it's, I will drink 8 glasses of water a day, whatever you need. But offering yourself an intention that comes from you and from no one else. And then very gently, just dropping your arms down towards your lap, palms face up. If you'd like to join in doing a nice Om together, let's all do a nice Om together. Thank you so much. For those of you that would like to stay and hang out with Kay, I know he'd love that. Please stay and Kaylin, whatever you would like to share, go ahead.
Yeah, just give us 1 minute. We're going to stop the live stream on YouTube. Thank you all YouTubers for being here. So glad to celebrate with you. But friends and family who want to stay on Zoom, give me a moment. I'll turn on your videos and microphones so that we can just have a little face-to-face chat. If you have to go, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Monita. I think you can all see why we asked her to help officiate our wedding. She is this incredible light of a human being. And we are so great to be here with you. Please stay in touch. If you're going to hang on so we can chat face to face, please do so. We'll get that going in just 1 second. So hang tight.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Kaylin's going to make sure we're not all live on YouTube. We'll be chat about things. We're figuring that out before. Thank you all for dropping all of this.